Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we like. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today we are reading The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. But before we get into that, I gotta let you know, I gotta warn the people that we are crass and unhinged. We're terribly unladylike, and we're gonna talk about all of them naughty times using all them four-letter words.
Mm-hmm.
Rockets are go. It'll make sense later. And you'll come back around and you'll be like, that was a really good joke, Aaron.
Hey, Wiggs, what can you tell me about Etta Easton?
I would love to tell you about Etta Easton. This is a real one because she put her bio in the back of the book. And you know how much I love that.
You do love that.
Etta Easton is a certified hopeless romantic who now writes contemporary romance. Her stories are full of humor, relatable heroines, swoon-worthy heroes, and black joy. The Kiss Countdown is her debut novel. Pew, 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 pew. She lives in Central Texas with her husband and two young kids who get all of their sweetness and attitude from their mama. When not reading or writing, Etta indulges in her s'mores obsession and searches for her next favorite love song. Also, she put in this nice little thing, which is great. I've seen a few authors do this, and I think that everyone should, because it's just nice. Like, what if you get done with a book and you're like, I got a book hangover and I need some help? Which is that she gave us Etta's to-be-read list. So these are her recommendations. The Art of Scandal by Regina Black, Rules of Second Chances by Maggie North, When I Think of You by Maya Ariel, Sunshine and Spice by Aurora Palette, I think, Love and Other Conspiracies by Mallory Marlowe, Say You'll Be Mine by Nina Kumar, which is actually on my list. So
it's on mine too.
Mm-hmm. And then Literally Anything by Nalini Singh. And so I'm sort of like, okay, literally anything. So then I did add that to my TBR. But to be fair, my TBR is endless. So that's kind of like...
What does that even mean, you know?
Yeah.
It's a no man's zone. And... she has her next book coming out, The Love Simulation, which is going to be about Brianna Rogers, who you'll know if you read the book. And that actually just came out literally like moments ago, like a month ago. Yeah. So it's out now. Go get it. What are you waiting for? Danny, tell me what The Kiss Countdown is about.
Kiss Countdown is about a lovely woman who got fired from her job because she had one bad day where she kind of got bitch slapped by life, but she did kind of slightly ruin somebody else's wedding because she's a party planner, and she got fired for it. And she has now realized she's trying to start her own consulting business for party planning, and she's realizing that she can't really afford her apartment anymore because she also wants to pay this big medical bill for her parents. And she runs into a lovely astronaut one day. He is quite a charmer. Not really. He's a little weird at first, but you know, he's cute.
Nerd.
He's a nerd. And she gets him to save her in an awkward situation with an ex by him pretending to be her boyfriend. And then they run into, I believe, his sister?
Yes. Yep.
And so, no, he's going to take her to his sister's party to try to get people to leave him alone with the whole dating situation, and they get sucked into a fake dating situation. So let's talk about it.
So Amerie is in her favorite coffee shop and is trying to get her coffee order. And first of all, like, yes, everyone should put cinnamon in their coffee. It's the bomb. But second of all, she does a very like relatable move to me where it's like my brain forgot to do this one thing. So instead of going and putting my coffee down and going back and getting the cinnamon, I'm just going to flip around and run right towards whatever obstacle's in the way. And the obstacle that's in the way is Vincent, and he's hot, but she's like mad at him for being hot.
She's instantly mad at him for being hot. Like,
it's
how
so
dare you?
rude. Why would you do that?
I think she was a little flustered too because there was a guy who was legitimately being a creep to her, and an old guy that was legitimately being a creep to her. So she like got away from that situation. She's like, God damn it, I forgot the cinnamon. Then she turned around and Vincent was right there. You do find out later that yes, he was very close to her.
Well, her friend Gina is like, he was literally like up your ass. Like,
yeah.
One step away from being in your skin. Like,
To be fair, though, Amerie gets frustrated and kind of pissed off like at anything.
Yeah.
Her trigger is very short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is in a hair trigger situation. There was multiple times where I'm like, girl, it's not that deep.
Not to go right to the bad, but I mean, I actually don't like her at all. She annoyed the ever living shit out of me. And part of that was anytime like Vincent was being sweet, she'd just be like angry at him and mad about it. And I'm just like, girl.
You can be grumpy without being an asshole.
Also, you don't gotta fucking snap at everyone.
It's true. The one thing I will say in her defense, though, is that when you're a hyper independent person who's had to rely on yourself for a really long time, it's this like crazy defense mechanism that you have to kind of fight against, where you're like, don't be coming in here being nice and shit. Okay, I've gotten very used to doing it on my own. I don't need to start relying on you, motherfucker. And does she lash out in a very unhealthy way with that? Yes, but also like I get where she's coming from.
I do as well. I actually have that problem. I have to like rein myself back.
Yeah, to me, it was just like a fatal flaw of the character. And like, I get that it's probably realistic for people. I couldn't get past that. So,
I mean, that's fair. And it's also, I think, magnified for her in a way that it isn't for, say, someone like Danny and I, because she was alone in a relationship for a really long time and then got abandoned by that relationship when she was even less in it because she was going through a really hard time. And so all that does is reinforce that the only person you can count on is you, right? Yeah. And so it just becomes this cycle of like reinforcement. And so when someone comes along and gets in the way of that cycle, you're like, get out of my way. I'm cycling.
I think the other thing too is it made it really difficult for me to believe that Vincent would have the emotions and feelings he did for her, because
she kicks him a lot. Like,
yeah. And there's not enough balance in my mind to actually like make it believable that Vincent would go for that.
Oh, I totally believe it. Maybe it's just because I know people who that is their relationship. It's like there's one person who's just like, I'm done. And then they're like, okay, but you're not. It's fine. Like one of my favorite lines in the book was she's mad at him because he like went off. He had to drop everything to go to like Florida or to like prep for some space thing. I don't know space shit. And I'm going to just disclaimer that right here, right now, before we get any further in. But he's like doing his space shit in Florida and he's gone for a week, and she comes back and she's had enough time to spiral. Right. And she starts freaking out on him. And he's like, if you missed me, just say that. And I was like, God damn, Vincent, you can't be saying shit like that.
That one did catch me too. I was like, oh, sir. One, you just read her for filth.
Yes.
And two, oh.
Yes.
Hi.
And so, like, I do know people who that is their relationship dynamic, is that there's one person who is a very insecure attachment and there's one person who's very secure, and they just have to like just a reminder, girlfriend, that you love me. By the way.
I think it probably would have been more effective if we had seen, because they lived together for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of time that we didn't see of them being, together and everything.
The time jumps didn't help that.
Yeah. I think it maybe would have been a little more convincing had we gotten to see more time of them just spending in the house together.
Yeah, like that's what I'm here for. Is I need to see that they're actually being able to enjoy time together, because we do get some super cute moments, but unfortunately it almost seems to be immediately then overshadowed by her having one of her reactions.
Yeah. I think it would have been a little more effective had we seen that, but that it is what it is. That also could be because I am in a little bit more of my cozy era, and I live for the cozy moments of them just like hanging out in the house together.
I'm here for the small romantic moments. Like, don't get me wrong, you need the big things too, but I just want to read about you watching TV and cuddling.
Well, I think especially because this book is kind of set up to do that, and so it just needed to lean into that a little bit more, because the whole premise is that she's like, how is your bedroom so nice and cozy? How is this office amazing? And then you kind of put me in the prison cell over there. What the fuck was that?
That immediately set off her allergies. I was like, how much dust is in that room?
My God.
Right? At least
Right.
vacuum before you have a guest come over.
Right.
And her big thing is that because she was moved around from apartment to apartment growing up, that one of the big things she wants is a home to settle into. So it would make more sense for this to be more of a homey, cozy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do like that he's like, decorate it up, make it something special. And I'm like, oh, you're giving her a homing beacon essentially to the house.
Which all of that makes more sense when you understand his perspective, which this is all the way at the end of the book, which is that in his family, people just fall in love instantly, and they've got this history of it. And he sees her and is immediately like, yep, this is the one.
Tongue is on the floor.
Yeah.
I think this book really needed at least some chapters in his perspective.
Yeah.
I think that would have kind of solidified that, because I feel like I got a lot of telling, not enough showing. And because it's all from her perspective, you just kind of have to go, okay, I guess he loves you. I haven't really seen anything to say that, but all right.
I would have liked some stuff from his perspective. Also, because you would have gotten more of him explaining and more of him feeling the way he does about how his mother reacts to everything, because his mom is doing her damnedest to like keep him there, but at the same time she's pushing him away because she's pissed that he's going to space, which I understand the anger and don't. You should be proud. That is not something just anybody can do. But yeah, it's scary as shit, and I get her anger about it.
Especially when she's already lost one son to a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
Also taking into consideration the age of his mother, I think they said that she was like late 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's about the age where they would have watched the Challenger in school.
Yeah.
So that's like, even give her a little credit, She's seen the worst outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But he's already been to space several times before this
He has,
mission.
but now he's going to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the International Space Station, he said.
He was, but
Yeah.
now his next mission is to the moon.
Right. I just mean, like, this isn't the first time he's gone to space.
true.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like her reaction is this is the very first time he's going to space.
Yeah. Maybe she just gets more angry every time he goes.
And that's, yeah, I can get that. It would be very difficult to watch your son fly off into space
Mhm.
and hope that 6 months later he'll safely come home.
Mhm.
Right.
It'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
My hair would be white.
And I think the other factor in it is it's not just that she's doesn't want him to go up there. It's also she feels like he's not emotionally investing into their family anymore, because his priority is just, I'm going to go up into the space station. And so she thinks if she can convince him not to, because she can get him to settle down and be stable, then that will naturally cause him to want to spend more time with his family. And it's doing the exact opposite.
Right.
When she's the reason he doesn't want to spend more time with the family and his sisters, because they do it too.
Well, and also, he doesn't want to go back to the cabin or the home they grew up in, because it has to be memories of his brother. And he has a lot of guilt because he thinks that maybe if he would have been there and actually checked the helicopter, maybe that would have saved him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I understand his mom better than I would have, except for the fact that I have a family member, I won't say who, just on the rare case that they would hear this, and they shouldn't, but
If you're there, stop listening
stop
to
it.
this.
Stop it. But their approach is very similar to his mother, and that they will turn even very nice moments into moments that are almost a little uncomfortable, because they like point out how nice it is and that you should do it more, rather than letting you just live in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so while nothing they're saying is technically wrong, it's the fact that instead of us just enjoying this moment, we're thinking about the fact that somebody else should be here. Somebody, like, we don't have our complete family anymore. And when she brings that up when they're hiking, it almost like gave me like a little bit of a flash. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, I was mad when that happened. I'm like, no, just let it be fun. Like, they were having a good time.
I think that happens a lot between, everybody, but it's obviously she's got a lot of grief still, and she's not really recognizing that everybody else has grief too, and trying to make it about the way she's feeling. And that's it's pretty much kind of what we see from her throughout the most of the book is she wants things one way and she's going to do all of the emotional kind of manipulation to try to get it that way.
Yes.
I did really like, though, that eventually Anne-Marie ends up having the conversation with her that she's like, here's the thing. I understand what you're trying to do. I get it. You're doing completely the opposite. And then it's not that like her just saying that fixes everything. He ends up having a serious conversation with his mother where you don't see it, but he states that, they had a conversation and she's trying more. She understands and they're mending the fences a little bit. And I appreciated that was part of it, that she gets it now.
Yeah. If only real life worked like that and people actually could adjust when one person tells them to change their mind.
I think they can in Europe.
But while we see that like Vincent's mom in that kind of light, we get a very different mother from Anne-Marie's mom, whose name I can't quite remember, but seems to be so open and welcoming and just like wants to listen and accept Anne-Marie, even though Anne-Marie doesn't want to tell her anything and worry and stress her.
Yeah, she lies to her parents a lot.
I think that Anne-Marie's got a bit of a definitely I am just like my mother thing going on, because also we find out that Anne-Marie's mother is hiding the state of her health from her.
Yeah.
Her health is kind of in decline. So she decides that she's going to pay this bill for her parents because she found this bill at their house.
Yeah.
That irritates me a little bit. Not because she wanted to help, but the fact that she didn't try to discuss it with them. Because ultimately, that's not her business.
I think that's another kind of flaw that she has, right? Is because her mom has always been sick with sickle cell, she's always had to kind of be a part of taking care of her mother, whether that's even asking for less or being less needy as a child to now as getting older, wanting to actually take care of things. But I mean, that's the crux of almost the entire book, is her wanting to pay off this medical bill without her parents knowing. And all of that could have been resolved if she talked to them because they had the money for it saved up.
Yeah, they knew the bill was coming. They were going to pay it.
And she also doesn't know what kind of systems that they have in place. Like her mom could have something on her insurance that like further reduces it. Like there's a lot of different things that they could have been doing that she would have no fucking clue about because she hid the goddamn bill from them and then paid for it. Also, and like I get it. Like I get it. But there is something to the mentality of like, you also still have to put your own mask on first, And so she creates a situation that puts more strain on her family being able to go on this trip because now she doesn't have a place to stay at the end of the book. And that would have not been an issue if she hadn't tried to go behind their backs to pay the bill.
Yeah.
But she does own it throughout the book. Like as she's doing it, she's like, I know this is wrong and I did it anyway. At the end, she's like, yep, this is the consequence of me doing this. My parents tried to pay me back. No, this is the consequence of not just being open with my parents.
Yeah.
So I do respect responsibility.
There are so many moments where I'm like, I understand the sweet, loving nature of trying to do this for them, but ultimately it's not your business.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like this entire book of what if you just talk to each other?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in different ways, both kids are trying to spare their parents and both parents are like, no, it's our job to worry about you. But also at the same time, like you can't just like be up in your kid's life and trying to dictate what they do. And so no one's really right. And no one's really wrong at the end of the day in this book.
Because they're in their 30s, aren't they?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, it's not like they're 22 and you're still trying to hold on to that. It was only a few years ago that you were in my house. It's like, no, they're out there living their whole ass lives.
They're big people lives.
I will say, though, in Anne-Marie's defense of if my parents were out on this trip where we were barely having much time to communicate with each other and things like that, and and I was fired from my job or broke up with my boyfriend, I might just go, I can save that for another day.
Yeah, that information I would keep to myself until they got back.
Correct. I would definitely keep that to myself. I certainly wouldn't be going to, my mother and being like, hey, I'm going to fake date this guy and then go to his family's cabin in the middle of who knows where.
Right, because if your mom has any sense, she's going to come back with, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
Why would you do
with
that?
This guy after knowing him or meeting him like twice?
That's how you get murdered.
That is how you get murdered. The second that was said, I was like, ma'am.
I think she really just needed to say it out loud, if we're being honest. Like, she just needed to say it out loud to herself enough that she would go, this is how I get murdered. I can't be doing this. Yeah, I can't be going out into the woods with this family I've never met. Maybe they're great. Maybe they're the best. But maybe I keep wanting to say Winston for some reason. Vincent is so calm and collected because he's a psycho and he's going to murder me.
Yeah, who's to say this family exists?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's met the sister, but who's to say that that's what they're actually doing, is going to a family vacation in the middle of nowhere?
Well, and you need to put like things in place if you're going to go meet somebody. For instance, a friend of mine, when she first started dating her boyfriend, she worked with him for quite a while and everything. She did know him, but their first date was at his house. He lives in the middle of nowhere. And I said, my love, for my sanity, can you drop a pin when you arrive, so that I have your location and I know where to send the cops should I not hear from you by a certain point? I'm not asking you to do like the most, but just drop a pin.
You never know. It's when you least suspect it.
Regardless of the fact that, her choices with doing this stuff with Vincent were not safe. So like, don't do that in the real world. Mm-mm. They were fun for book.
Yeah.
They were.
And I love me a fake dating trope, especially because like, there's the, we're conspiring together to keep this secret. And then there's the like, we're kind of slowly building a friendship that maybe, we know it'll turn into more. We know that, but they don't.
That's true. And, I love a one bed situation.
Yep.
Great.
There was not enough use of the one bed, if I may say so.
I really thought they were going to get further into it a lot earlier.
Yeah.
I did too, especially because I thought at first when she woke up and she was hugging on to him and she had a leg around him, I thought she was spooning him. And then they mentioned that he was rising with the morning sun. I was like, oh, you're not spooning him. You are like clomped onto him from the front.
No, she was on him from the back.
Yeah.
Her calf was she had like so engulfed him in her body and in her legs that her calf was all the way over on the other side of his leg getting dicked down.
I would just like to say, as somebody who has a partner and has slept in many positions, the way that she described that in this book did not sound comfortable.
It did not. I was just like, how... So many gymnastics while sleeping.
She must have wide set hips.
Yeah. And how are you comfortable? Because everything would be asleep on my body, I feel like.
Exactly.
Especially because this man seems to be like a tower. Yeah. Like, he's a full block of ice. Like, just a Tonka truck.
How many more metaphors are you going to pull out there, Wix?
How many more do you want? Got them all. He's a shit brick house. He's a Eiffel Tower.
I'm sorry. Eiffel Tower is a different meaning.
Yeah,
it does.
Let's not Eiffel Tower.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I was like, everything would be asleep. Well, I wouldn't end up in that position anyway, because I'd be like, go the fuck on your side of the bed where you belong. Danny doesn't like to cuddle.
What? I've never heard this before. Please.
I know, it's shocking.
But, I mean, we did get the cute scene where she was sleeping on his chest and he was awake and just like holding her. And like, that's nice. That would have been a really good opportunity, though, for his perspective.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. She'd be like, oh, I love this girl. The end. No, I wanted to hear his perspective as well.
Yeah.
I feel like the reason we don't get his perspective, though, is because it would be like this. Holy shit, she's in my house. Holy shit, she's in my bed. Holy shit, she's fully wrapped around me. Holy shit, I'm wrapped around her. Holy shit, she's still hot and she's still wrapped around me and she's wearing those fucking leggings. And then it would be like, holy shit, I pissed her off. How do I fix this? Oh, I just have to be smooth. I got this. And that's the book.
I am a little mad that they went on and on about how amazing that bathroom is. And we did get a bathtub scene, but not a good one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, the spice was lacking here.
It wasn't like fade to black, but it was skip over as much of the like minutia as possible.
Yeah.
Get to the point where you understand that they be fucking, and then just be like, well,
and I'm spent.
yeah.
But we did get a vibrator.
Yeah.
I did like
I do like a vibrator.
As soon as she put that vibrator in the drawer, I was like, if this doesn't come back out, I will scream.
It's a Chekhov's gun situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it could have been used more, and it could have been spicier.
It could have used some tail action.
I just feel like there's a lot of opportunities when they were in the house for like, oh, she thinks he's gone for the day. She'll pull out the vibrator, and then like he hears her or catches her or something.
Oh,
Those
God,
are fun.
That would have been. I love a good like.
Yeah.
I caught you situation.
Yeah.
I thought for sure we were gonna get a moment from the proposal where like they accidentally run into each other. One of them's naked. At least one of them's naked.
Well, I thought he was gonna catch her because she was staying in his bedroom, but he still had to come in and get stuff out of his closet, and he uses that bathroom. And so I thought it was totally gonna be I'm gonna sneak in here because she's still asleep situation to get my clothes or whatever, and find out she's not asleep. She's stirring the macaroni.
I mean,
in
she
her
was
bed.
respectful enough not to do it in his bed. I'll give her that. She saved it for only when she was taking a shower.
Yeah, that wasn't about the bed. That was about she didn't want to be heard.
Yeah. But
But also, if you're still on the fence of like, I don't know if this guy likes me, I'm not using a sex toy in his bed. That's rude.
that you're gonna wash the sheets and the comforter before you give it back to him. So what does it matter?
It matters.
It does not.
It would be weird. It would be weird. If you DJ'd in someone's bed, it would be weird. You can't just like go and do your business in someone else's bed.
You're not spinning records in other people's beds.
No, I'm not a heathen.
Okay.
Y'all don't get to be in my bed anymore is the moral of the story of what
I
I've
have
gotten
never
from this.
slept in your bed.
Because the last time I was in your bed was how long ago? That's what I thought.
And this is why. So one of the things I really like about this book is I feel like it's written by a millennial for a millennial. The references that were happening throughout this book, I was like, yes, we do like Prince. Yes, we do like the Gilmore Girls. You are correct. There were quite a few in here. Those are just the ones that I remember off the top of my head. But there were quite a few where I was like, yes, correct. That is very millennial of you. Well done. But also just the like dream of having a home and knowing you'll never have it.
Yeah, that's very.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And restarting your career again.
Yeah.
And so
Hi, I just did that.
yeah. So I was like, you get it. Great.
Yeah. Though she was definitely incorrectly terminated from her job.
Oh, hell yeah.
And obviously they're in Texas, so I don't really know what employment laws are in Texas. But you kind of, if somebody has a family emergency, which she did, and then you're going to fire her because she had a family emergency, that's your fault. You should have had backups.
Yeah.
You didn't have anybody. She didn't have an assistant. Nobody that could have taken over.
Yeah. That is such a misstep. This is somebody's wedding. You need to have multiple people.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like you wouldn't at a wedding just have, because it sounds like she's planning things for people who have money.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't just have one wedding coordinator.
Well, and maybe you would if it was like now her instance where she's the entire company.
Right.
But she worked for a big company who was constantly planning shit for people.
And the excuse was, I think it was Valentine's Day, so everybody was booked. And it's like, oh, so you overbooked then.
Uh-huh.
Well, and at the same time, this is such a typical entertainment industry move.
Yeah, but also, yes, like it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So it did not feel like it was an unfounded plot choice. It felt honestly a little too real.
No, yeah, from a plot choice, I definitely agree with it. I just also, they were wrong.
Well, you know, the robots are going to take over anyway. So like,
They should hurry that shit up. I'm done.
also, I just don't think that in the robotic uprising, they're going to be kind to us, you know? And this is why I'm polite to my Alexa. Okay. I say please and thank you. And I recommend it to everybody.
I honestly do as well.
Yeah.
I don't mean to.
It's just fucking manners.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the things I do really like is her best friend Gina.
Mm-hmm.
And how realistic their relationship feels. All of that felt like maybe, I don't know Etta's life, but maybe she sort of kind of just wrote her own real best friend into this book.
Yeah.
The amount of like too true that was going on there.
You gotta have a best friend though, because otherwise, who are you gonna go complain to, and who's gonna tell you to just go for it and bone the hot astronaut man?
I also liked the realisticness of Gina having her own problems and kind of disappearing for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes. I also liked the way that Etta handled that. Like, yes, she was annoyed that she was just gone, right? And she was just gone. But she also like understood the circumstances that were going on there and didn't really hold it against her. It was just, but you do also have to acknowledge it. Like, you can't just disappear off the face of the earth and then expect me to be like, hey, look who's risen from the dead. That's so crazy. So the problem that Gina is dealing with is that her boyfriend, Mac, is struggling to contend with his mother, who apparently hates Gina's guts. And so he wants to propose, and his mom is like, over my dead body. And he's like, how close are you to the grave? And so ultimately she's trying to figure out, even if he does reject what his mother is suggesting, can she accept him if this is going to be her life with his mother from here on out? And can she count on him sticking up for her, because he hasn't really been doing that apparently.
Which is a very valid concern. Listen,
Yeah.
I have listened to many a mother-in-law from hell stories from Reddit on the tube of U's, the Ubi tubes. And if they're not willing to grow a spine when it comes to their mother, I get that it's hard because that's your mom. But at some point, you got to be like, fucking A, woman, I am in my 30s.
Well, but that does, I mean, Gina has very valid concerns, because if her life is going to be miserable, because anytime this woman is around, she vehemently disapproves of Gina. And so it's like, at some point, you not only do you go to your partner and say, why won't you stick up for me to your mother? You then have to be like, why won't you are you going to then stick up for me in other situations? What if you have kids? You know, that's going to be really hard, especially if you don't agree with your mother-in-law, the way she reacts or interacts with your kids.
Well, and if you think that you're in the state of mind where you're ready to get married, that person is supposed to be your person.
Yeah.
They're supposed to come above all, except for maybe your children.
Right.
I get that it's hard because it's your mom, but this is supposed to be the person that you're spending your entire life with, that you've made this decision with, that you can't imagine living without, and you've got to put them above things.
Well, and I think where things land makes perfect sense to me, because what ends up happening is Mac does propose, but with the condition that he is considering potentially going no contact with his mother to be with her, which is a really big decision.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. He also, one of the big hangups is that she wouldn't give him the like family ring to propose with, and that's where he was getting real mad and everything. So he went and got her own ring and proposed to her, but she put conditions on it, you know, that he needs to decide what he wants to do with his mother, because ultimately that's his decision, not hers. But I think they were also going to do couples counseling, and if he starts backsliding, then she's completely done.
Well, the thing is, we spend so much time thinking about marriage as this romantic prospect, and like, I guess, but realistically, the marriage part of it is the piece of paper that legally binds you to another person, and their various legal interactions beyond that, whether it's financially or property ownership, yada, 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 right? So like marriage, this romantic ideal, I think is honestly very silly. It's realistically, you are romantically involved with a person and trust them enough to get married to them. And so, yeah, like I don't think love is enough to get married if you can't trust that person.
Oh, love isn't enough to get married, even if you can trust that person. Like the root of, in my opinion, having a happy marriage starts with like true companionship. right? And that's so much more than just love, because you can love somebody and not be able to be in a relationship with them.
Yes.
Where you are tying all of your decisions together.
Yes. And you can love somebody, and you can also find yourself in a situation where, because they are so unreliable in whatever way it is, whether it's emotionally or physically or financially, whatever it is, that they actively are draining your life. Again, love is not enough for that shit. So, like, I'm a big supporter of Gina on that one.
Yep, absolutely. Marriages are work, incredibly difficult work. There's a reason I am single.
But I think it's really interesting then, because we get not only the fake dating with Amerie and Vincent, but we get a fake proposal,
which she makes happen, which that one I didn't see coming. I was like, oh, like I knew it was probably going to happen at the restaurant, and that she maybe agreed to it because his mom was like all pushing for it and everything. But when she was like, hey, can you check on my ankle? I think my shoe is cutting off, and he goes down on one knee to like check her ankle, and she's like, oh my God, yes, I'll marry you. I was like, oh, you bitch.
That was wild.
I kind of get it though, because she constantly talks about she does not, it's just her parents and her. So she doesn't have any experience dealing with these giant family get-togethers, which can often devolve into disagreements and stuff. So if you're not used to being in the middle of that.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I was just like, ma'am, there's a discussion you should have had with him before this. This is his family, not yours.
Yeah, well, this discussion they had because Vincent's mom gives the ring to Vincent to propose to Amerie because they think they've been dating for 8 months. 8 months.
When they've known each other for like 2 at this point.
Right. No, this is crazy. We're not going to do it. But also, Vincent's mom, in giving him that ring and saying, you should propose at my birthday dinner. What a fucking bitch, honestly. Right? Inappropriate.
That irritated me a lot because I'm like, if he's going to propose, if he's planning on proposing, even if you want to be like, hey, when you make the decision to propose, because I really think she's good for you, here's the family ring. That's fine. But to dictate when it's going to happen and everything and in front of people, like...
To be like, hey, here's the ring. You should propose tomorrow.
Yeah, you've got to let him make that decision and make sure that he is ready for it and that he thinks they're in a good spot in their relationship. Like, you don't get to dictate that.
Right. And also, you don't get to dictate, even if they are like, yeah, I was planning on proposing soon. That's something that they figure out how they want to do that.
Yeah.
Her family's not there. Why do you get to have to steal all the thunder when her family's not there?
Well, and this is maybe just a me thing because, but being proposed to in front of all of those people, no.
That you just met?
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
I'm not a public proposal fan.
No.
Personally.
There are women that would absolutely love that. I'm not saying anything against people who have done public proposals because their partner is somebody who would like that. I just would never like that because it makes you feel super pressured to say yes because everybody's looking at you.
Well, usually if you are going to do a public proposal, you want to know that the answer is already yes. Like you guys have already talked about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about the fact that yes, you do want to get engaged sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So like the answer is already yes. It's just going through the fun of the proposal.
I've just seen enough people try to use it as a manipulation.
Yeah.
To get them to say yes when they haven't had the conversations like an adult.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a red flag in a lot of ways if you are doing a public proposal, because yes, it could be that you're trying to manipulate someone into saying yes, but also it could be one of those things where you're not really ready to get married. You just want a wedding. You just want the show.
Once again, not necessarily a red flag if you're doing a public proposal, if you've had the discussions and that's the kind of person your partner is and everything. But when it's out of nowhere and everything, you're like, because there are some people that would absolutely fucking love that.
Yeah. But to have it dictated by your mother.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem right there.
I will say the ring, after it's introduced, is a very interesting object to float around throughout the story because it carries us through to the point where once they get back from this like trip out to their cabin that she easily could and probably should take the ring off, but doesn't. And so that really gives you a clue into where her mind is at, even if she's not really totally understanding that herself. She just knows it feels wrong to take it off.
Even when he's away, because he then leaves.
Yes. And it's the termination of the relationship when she gives it back. And the way that it ends up back on her finger, I thought was so cute, was at some point after they had a night of reconciliation together, she wakes up with it on her finger again.
Yeah, he like stuck it on her finger in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh, that was cute.
That's super cute.
And there's also the scene. So eventually Vincent's family finds out that this was all fake. And we find out later when Vincent and Amerie are coming back together, or right before then, when Vincent's mom talks about the fact that she doesn't have the ring anymore because Vincent said, no, it belongs to somebody else now.
Yes.
Yeah, he wouldn't give it back. When she said that, I was like, oh, my heart fluttered there a little bit.
Yeah. There's some lines in this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vincent is like this big, sweet teddy bear guy. He's definitely giving golden retriever nerd.
Yes. Which we love. I love me a nerd.
Yes.
I love the like innuendos that are like, I have a big science lab.
That was great.
That was great.
Oh my God. I was like, you had me at science lab, sir.
And then all of the romantic references to the stars, especially after the proposal night when he takes her out and they go camping, or, they have a picnic under the stars. And it was very romantic.
That when they were describing the like picnic under the stars thing, I was like, sir, stay away from my fantasies.
I know.
The intention behind it is so great too, because she had just been describing to his family that one of her favorite events to put together are little picnics that are like really well thought out and coordinated. And then he goes and does that. And I completely get why Amerie falls for this guy. I would fall for him just as fast and just as inappropriately, like losing my mind, because he answers all of her questions that aren't being spoken, which is wild. You can't find that in reality. Like, people don't do that for you. They cannot fill your gaps like that. But
yeah,
you lock it up. Yeah. Lock it up, Danny.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
I'm inappropriate. No, I'm not.
I also like, though, even with the best of intentions, Amerie consistently like misses his like romantic offerings. So like he's like, oh, we're gonna look at the stars, and she's like, yeah, the lake is really pretty, I guess. And he's like, I guess it is. That's not what I brought you out here for.
He's like, astronaut, bitch, look up.
Yes.
Well, and like the second time they run into each other is just like out on the street, and she's like wishing upon a star, and he's like, actually, that's a planet. Here, let me talk to you about it. And she's just like, Mr. Know-it-all, which I get that. Like if some random guy came up to me and mansplained the fact that that's a planet and not a star, I'd be like, I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for you.
Yes. And then literally the next scene, she does.
Yes.
That was, I love that moment where she's like, she's kind of getting interrogated by her ex-boyfriend. And I do appreciate the fact that she's like, why the fuck would he come to my coffee shop?
Oh, yeah. He was there to rub it in her face.
He was there to rub it in her with his new girlfriend. And she's like, oh, no, I'm here with my boyfriend. And he's like, oh, yeah, really? And then Vincent walks in. She's like, Vincent! I'm like, oh, sweet dum-dum. Play along with this, please.
It does remind me, though, a lot of times of like going out to a bar and, getting not accosted by an ex, but, like guys fucking try to. And sometimes I've done that before. Sometimes it's with one of our friends where it's like, no. And I just grab one of our guy friends and I'm like, I'm with this one.
Yep. Oh, I've done that with her guy friend.
You're forced to be my boyfriend tonight.
Yeah. Yep.
Sucker.
I've also done that with random people who've luckily played along. Not necessarily the boyfriend part of just like, oh, no, I'm going to go meet these people. And I'm like, help me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I've pulled that before. I've been like, hi.
You don't know me, but I need your help.
You don't know me.
I did also love when he's going in on it. He's like, I've committed. I've jumped. I'm in this.
Uh-huh.
You and I, we've been together 8 months. I've created the story in the last 10 seconds. Right? And then he's like, and also I'm an astronaut. And she's like, motherfucker, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You were doing so well. And then he's like, but I actually am. Here's my proof.
Here's my NASA ID tag.
He's like, but no, astronaut. And you're like,
See?
God damn it.
In my head, and this is just a reference for the nerdy girls, all I could think was like the like piece of paper that the doctor has that just like fills in whatever.
The psychic paper.
But yeah, I do love that he goes along with it. He didn't have to. I was worried in the same way she was that like this woman that's walking over is definitely his girlfriend and she's gonna beat you up.
But of course, Comic intervenes and it's his sister who's like, oh my gosh, I finally get to meet your girlfriend.
Yes.
It's like, well, I mean, he did it for you, so now you have to do it for her.
Turnabout's fair play here, bitch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to a party and they kiss.
The New Year's party was super cute and romantic. I loved the like ice cream situation and just kind of getting to know each other and dancing in the garden.
I do fully agree with her, though, on the ice cream situation. Like, I'm not going to share a spoon with you. We just met. I don't know your oral hygiene situation.
Yeah, I'll share like a cup of ice cream.
Share a bowl, but
I'm not going to share a spoon. I'm not a heathen.
But then he ate all of it. So that was kind of a jerk move.
I was like, dude.
Well, I love it. He's like, well, I gestured it towards you and you waved. And so I thought you were done. I was like, you're a liar. You're a liar.
That's why, and that's why these people are not from the Midwest, because in the Midwest, when you get down to the very end, you always go, do you want the last bite?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every
It's
time.
an obligation. Half the time, the last slice of pizza doesn't get eaten because we're all just like, do you want it? Do you want
Right.
it? Do you want it?
Or somehow it gets split in half between two people.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a very rom-com moment of where like she's on the boat, she sees him leaving, she jumps off the boat kind of because they took the ramp away and she's trying to catch up with him because you can't leave me. I need to tell you things. And it was sweet, but also rom-com-y. So
Well, this was another classic Vincent mom moment where she made it seem to Amerie that Vincent was leaving to like go on his mission or at least go to training for like a couple of weeks, whereas that was not the case.
Well, it turns out he wasn't even really trying to leave the party. He didn't realize the boat was going to go away.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, I was coming back. Now you're all wet. That's crazy.
I will say though, like, I don't know, I actually didn't kind of like that ending. It felt rushed, and also just like they were putting the ramp back for her. She just had to wait.
Listen, patience is not something love allows. Everyone knows this. It has to happen right now.
Well, especially because it wasn't just like it wasn't as safe or as simple as it made it seem kind of when she did it, because they even said on the boat, hey, do not like lean over, jump off or anything. It's far enough that you will get hurt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't do that. The whole like jumping off a boat thing a lot of times is really fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that shit.
Well, Vincent even chews her out. He's like, what the hell? You could have been killed. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Please stop doing these things.
You can get crushed. If there's barnacles on the bottom of the boat, they'll cut the shit out of you. Like,
Depending on how high the boat up is, you just might break something hitting the water.
Yes.
water doesn't seem hard until you hit it from a long distance.
Yeah.
Anybody who's ever been tubing in the Midwest knows that.
Yeah. But, you know, it does have the cute ending. They get to go back to the house and sit in the bathtub and
You know what ending I wanted, though? We're
Yeah.
going to Wiggles Rewrite Corner this moment.
Ooh, yeah.
perfect.
Because that isn't the ending I wanted. It was nice. It was cute. But that's all I can say for it. What I wanted was they could do everything up to the like grand gesture moment. But I wanted them to have a night of reconciliation, all that, all good. But then the arrangement and the agreement is I will wait for you in the sense that I am not going to date anyone else until you come back in 6 months.
Right.
But I'm going to keep living my life independent. And when you finally come back, I will not be waiting for you on the tarmac, but I will be waiting for you at our coffee shop. And I will have your coffee order ready and you can come sit with me and we can try this again like normal people.
Well, yeah, because they didn't have hardly any time together as like a couple.
Yes.
So for her to like,
they were constantly just like with other people.
Right. They had a couple of weeks after the reconciliation and before he went off to the moon for 6 months.
Yes.
But yeah.
Because when he comes back and she's like, yeah, we've been able to like talk via screens and things like that. All I could think was, okay, but like you're still not a couple that's been together for 6 months, you know? And so I think that that decision of like the way we did this was wrong the last time. We're going to redo it in 6 months and we'll see who we are as people in that time, because you're going to have a very formative experience. I am working on building my business. We might not be the same people in 6 months.
Right.
It's true.
That's the ending I wanted. And then I wanted it to be like, he's running late, right? And she's just like, oh my God, he doesn't want to be with me anymore. And right as she's about to get up, we hear the bell ding of him walking through the door. And that's the end of the book.
You don't even get like a kiss at the end?
That's what an epilogue is for.
Oh, I see. So it's not the end of the book. It's the end of the...
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. I like a good ending. But I will say, as much as the like, I love the fake dating. I think it's so much fun. I love the like trying to figure out what's the right thing to say to people and things like that. They could have played with that more.
Yes.
It could have been bigger. It could have been like more of a thing.
Yeah, I think they should have played it up a little more.
Well, especially when they were at the cabin with his family, because we definitely get several scenes where they're interacting that way, but she ends up rolling her ankle or something. And so she spends most of that time just shut away in the guest house, which I also thought was weird. Like, why does she have to stay in the guest house the entire time when you guys are like outside or sitting and having dinner in the main house? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Weirdly overprotective for no reason.
Well, I mean, yeah, she still needs to keep her ankle up, but you carried her 20 minutes back from wherever you guys were hiking,
right?
You could carry her
yes.
to the main house, and she could like hang out with everyone.
Although I will say this, so she has the moment where she's spoken with his mom, and she sort of feels like she's overstepped, and she's like kind of stepped in it in talking about him going to space.
Yeah,
and they go into the guest house and she's like, so confession. And the way that he reacts to it was really like telling you everything you need to know about Vincent, because she's like, I could leave if you want. And he instead tightens his arms around her and he's like, no, you won't be doing that. So
nope, mine. You showed me affection.
You showed me human kindness. Now you're mine.
The question is, how much is this fake dating because Vincent, needs this cover, or how much is it him being like, well, this is how I get the girl to pay attention to me?
I think it's 100% that.
Yeah. He kind of admits to it at the end when
Yes.
he's like, well, how else was I going to get you to my sister's New Year's Eve party?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I saw an opening. I took it.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't talk to me. You were annoyed when I tried to flirt with you with planets. That's all I got. And it's like, no, ma'am. Sir, you are hot to trot, and that's something we know to be true.
Sir, you may flirt with me with planets.
Yes.
Oh, God,
muscly,
yes.
nerdy guy? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Take me, I'm yours. Just don't cuddle me.
I mean, he can cuddle me. He can also carry me for 20 minutes if he wants to.
I don't know. I think piggyback ride would be fine on that one, but like...
Well, I understand his reasoning because it was like, because they were on such like rocky terrain that he could easily lose his balance and then fall backwards on top of her.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't fall forwards on top of her?
I think it's easier to like...
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say... That's a perfect example of, you said you didn't quite understand how like Vincent could be in love with her. But so one of the things that leads to her spraining this ankle is that he tells her, you're going to need better hiking boots. And she says, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I reject it on principle. I'm not buying new shoes.
I understood that. I'm not out here buying
I get it.
A pair of $100 hiking boots that
hiking
I'm not
boots
going to wear.
Not cheap.
No.
Right. Especially when, you're strapped for cash.
Yes. And although she is now living rent free. So like Also,
She also doesn't have a job.
I mean, also, good points. Anyway.
She does. She's trying to get it going, but currently she does not have a job that is paying her.
Yeah, she doesn't have income
right.
at the moment.
But Vincent sees her shoes, recognizes that they're not good enough, and like still allows her to go out, which is like allows a tricky word, because like, were you going to be able to stop her if she wanted to do something? No, she would kick your ass. So like, yeah, he's gonna say yes. But that whole time that he's doing this, he's getting really upset, and she doesn't understand why, even before she like hurts her ankle. And he gets really upset when she gets to move in, and her reaction to the guest room is, my God. And when you contextualize it in the sense that he is trying to essentially date her without dating her, it makes so much sense. Because it's this move of like, but I've got her kind of cornered for 3 months. She has to pretend to date me. I have to be able to impress her in that much time.
Well, but again, like, I mean, I get what you're saying. Absolutely. Like, knowing that at the end of the book and looking back, for sure. But again, I guess I understand the sexual attraction without a doubt, but I just didn't feel like there was anything that she was giving him that he would be like, yeah, that's what I like.
Some people like people who challenge them.
There's a difference between challenging and then being a snippy bitch.
Well,
some guys are into that.
Maybe yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm not, but
Well, yeah, if a guy was a snippy bitch to me, I would not interact with him ever again. I'd be like, you could go at any time.
Go fornicate with a squirrel. Goodbye.
Don't do that to the squirrel.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, different vibes, I guess.
I understood how she fell for Vincent, though. Like,
Oh,
he
for
was
sure.
doing all the right things.
Vincent is like, he's like a myth. He's not real.
Right.
That doesn't exist in a human being. The amount of patience and tolerance he has.
Yeah.
My God.
And like his flaws were he was too overprotective.
Yeah.
And sometimes he didn't listen to her,
This is true.
but most of the time he did. So it's like, okay, if you're doing it 90% of the time and fail 10%, then that's a passing grade. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they were talking about the boots, and he was like, well, what size do you wear? Maybe you could wear my mom's boots, my mom or one of my sister's boots. And she's like 8.5. And he goes, oh yeah, no, your feet are too big. I'm like, bitch. I love that she got a little, she's like, I have average size feet.
He's like, that's
true.
not what I was saying.
My feet are the same size.
Mine are as well.
I was more confused as to why Vincent knew his siblings and his mother's shoe size.
Right?
Like, I do, but that's because my mom and I are so close that we would swap shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what boy out here knows his mother's shoe size? Again, myth of a man.
Myth
of a man. Shit, my dad doesn't know that. He's like, well, could you wear your mom's? And I'm like, Dad, that's adorable. No.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. We've talked about the good, the bad, the ending, the sad, and that means it is ratings time.
I guess your spice rating?
It was present, but it was very like sped through. Like,
Yeah.
And so for me, the spice, like the moments that I would consider to like even be spicier were not the sex scenes. They were like the prelude to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2.
I was also going to give it a 2. So.
I was going to give it a 1.5 because
Fair
it
enough.
did kind of fade to black on some. And
And also they had sex in a bathtub, and I'm always get the ick when you have sex like in water.
Really?
I love a good bathtub scene, but I don't want them to fuck in there usually.
Yeah, no, I love all of the other things in the bathtub without a doubt. But when you start inserting, you're shoving bath water up into your vagina,
I mean,
and
that's
don't do
true.
that.
But they didn't say like they put like any like soaps or anything.
I still.
I don't think they got that far.
The only time I don't have a problem with it is when it's like a monster romance where there's some sort of like nautical situation.
There aren't rules in those, or
Yeah.
there are very different rules at least.
Yeah.
I guess it's not something I've thought about that much, and now I probably will. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Never have sex in a hot tub.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's okay. Romance.
He was very romantic, but she was not.
She tried at the end.
She tried at the end. They did have a starlit picnic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly kind of want to just give it like a 2.5. And that's probably really low, but I think it comes down to the fact that I just didn't like the female main character.
Fair enough. I think I'm probably going to go like a 3.5 just because
Okay.
Starlit Picnic makes me happy.
I think I'm also going to go with a 3.5 because I don't know that I always need both partners to be that romantic.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody is a romantic person. And so if Vincent's willing to carry it for the two of them, then Godspeed, sir.
I just feel like there needs to be some give and take.
Oh, yeah. But that's with everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall.
I gave it a 3 on Goodreads. It's actually a 3.5. I did like this book. It was fine.
I also gave it a 3.5, mostly because it's a good, I think, debut novel.
Yeah.
And with that contextualizing it, I think that this author has the potential to do really well going forward. But the problem I kept running into is it felt too much like other novels.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could kind of erase names and put in different names, and it would feel like it's a story I've read from someone else before. And so I would have these moments where I would really get into it, and then it would like slow down for me again. But I probably will read the next in this series because I think that this author is going to only improve.
I gave it a 3, and I think that's like the highest I could go. I just didn't enjoy it. I was bored. I didn't care. I do think that this is probably a novel that suffers a little bit from, so it is a traditionally published novel, and as a debut novel, they want them to be shorter, right? You don't want to invest a lot of money into editing a 500-page book, printing a 500-page book, right? So typically you're going to see like a 300-page book for something like that until the author proves themselves, and I do think that shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably would have made a little more sense and felt better to you if she had been able to flesh it out a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that's true, honestly, for a lot of debut books, that they aren't, exactly like you said, they aren't given the time and the page count to really showcase what they can do.
Right. Granted, I've also read 300-page books that blow my socks off. So,
It's
you know.
true.
Yeah.
But I will say, when I think about the list of 300-page books that did exactly that, most of them were sequels.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, most of them I've already had the world established for me.
Right. Or they don't have to wrap up the entire plot because we're
Yeah.
going on to something else in the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to recommendations.
Recommendation. Okay, so my recommendation, because I am going to go first. I've just decided.
Somebody has to do it.
My recommendation is a very, very, very short book. So don't go into it thinking that you're going to get some like massive epic. That's not what you're getting. You're getting quite literally quick and to the point. Okay, and that is Drop Cover and Hold On by Jasmine Gilroy. It's part of the Improbable Meet Cute series that came out a little while ago. And it's really cute. It's about this woman who has been going to the same bakery since it opened and just loves it there. They have the best stuff, and she really likes trying all the new flavors that they put out. But they specifically put out I think it's blackberry, but I can't remember for sure. They specifically put out her favorite flavored treat. And she goes in and is staring down the surly baker who's behind the counter, who doesn't like her, hates her. And so she hates him, but she can't resist his goddamn baked goods. And then an earthquake hits. And the book is, the story is so short that I can't tell you literally anything else. So, it's 40 pages. It's quick. Go have fun.
Well, you mentioned Jasmine Gilroy, and she also has a full-length book that is a fake dating called The Wedding Date, which is about these two people randomly running into each other, I think, in a hotel, and then end up kind of finagling it that she's going to be his date to like his friend's or ex's wedding. And I will say the fake dating part of it was really enjoyable. Unfortunately, once the fake dating ended and it moved to like just like how to be in a relationship, it kind of dragged.
Well, and I'm recommending this one not for the fake dating, because that doesn't exist, but because of the like convinced that the other person doesn't like you thing.
Sure.
So I recommend The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong. It has the fake dating element a little bit. It's a little different because she hires him as an escort to try to teach her different lady bits things. But then she ends up having to kind of fake date him for his like family's sake.
Mm-hmm. So my other recommendation is one we have done before on the podcast, and that is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, who we love. And it is also a fake dating, and also will they actually make it work? Won't they? But there's also some like bonus features like letters, and well, the sex scene is complicated, but it is sexier.
Mm-hmm.
So check it out.
I wasn't intending to recommend this because I honestly thought you two would recommend Funny Story by Emily Henry because it's fake dating with roommates.
You're so right for that.
Which we've also done. So
we really like this fake dating thing, guys.
Fake dating monsters.
And terrible exes, right? Because the reason that I remember Miles is the male main character, but I don't remember the female main character's name. The reason that they get stuck together is because their exes decided to break up with them and then get together, and she got kicked out, and so she has to live with Miles, and they kind of lament their terrible love lives together and then try to get back at their exes by fake dating.
This is all true.
Because they received their wedding invitation.
I know. What a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm still enraged by that.
So look at all the episodes you can go back and listen to. Isn't that
You
so
should
crazy?
do that.
It's so crazy.
I guess I could also recommend, I have so many fake datings. I could just sit here for like 5 minutes and be like, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one.
Okay, but what do you really want to recommend?
The one that came to mind was Making Whoopee by Erin Nicholas. It is about a woman who is a baker, and like a friend of a friend comes in town. And so in the process of that, they discover, or she ends up getting really sick, but she doesn't have health insurance. And so this friend of a friend discovers that, and he's like, owns his own business or an executive or something. And he's like, well, I have health insurance, so we could just get married. And so they get married so she can use his health insurance. But it's very spicy, and there is some sex scenes with frosting involved.
Ooh.
So
Spicy frosting.
Yes. Again, I could just sit here and keep going. But
And I love that for you.
So that's the end of the episode, folks. If you like this episode, you can find us out there on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets, primarily on TikTok and Instagram. You can also go to our website, wrongdustjackets.com, where you'll find a list of episodes coming up, list of episodes we've done in the past, as well as our blog posts. We would absolutely love it if you could give us 5 stars, like, rate, review, whatever is available to you on your podcast listening app. That would help us in the algorithm, and it would make me very happy. That's all I got. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.